Okay, welcome to my presentation. Thanks for joining. Here are my outlines. I guess, dilemma in such symposiums, they are either Marxist ones or musicological ones. It's hard to talk about Marxism to musicologists, and on the other hand, it's also hard to talk about music and musicology for the Marxists. One of the reasons is, of course, about the specialization of disciplines, but also there's a tendency to consider music as an exceptional field by musicologists. I'm sorry for the lack of my paper, but it's still an ongoing study. And here, I don't plan to present my results or definite solutions, but I try to get some insights from Ilyenkov for several serious problems of ethnomusicology. The main problem for ethnomusicology, and I think also for Marxism, are the dualisms, such as nature and culture, mind versus body, universalism versus particularism. As I wrote in my abstract, I hope you read, because I will not mention all those points in my presentation. I think that Ilyenkov gives us a clear picture of how to resolve such dualisms, which also Marx and Engels already did. Besides that, there are manifestations of dualisms of Marxism in ethnomusicology, such as cultural studies approach, which focuses on meanings, ideas, and political economy approach. It's a minor field in ethnomusicology. In fact, very few studies. There are very few studies, and they focus on mainly economical processes. And another dualism is the well-known optimism of Benjamin and pessimism of Adorno about the cultural processes in capitalism. What I propose is that there is a serious lack of interest in material processes in ethnomusicology, as well as in cultural studies. And therefore, we need to involve material processes first in study of ethnomusicology. And once we did that, then we will have the problem of the relation between the material and the ideal, which I found a wonderful framework, theoretical framework from Ilyenkov. And once we put the material into the study of ethnomusicology, there is a problem of methods, which is ethnography in ethnomusicology, collecting material and ideal data, and doing this in a theoretical relationship. So from German ideology and dialectics of the ideal, and I also use the concept of the ideal. It's distracting new attendance. Ethnomusicology, in fact, is an United States invention of United States, and the first society is founded there, and this is how they define ethnomusicology. study of music in its social and cultural contexts. Yes, ethnomusicologists examine music as a social process, but as you see, more interpretive approaches are dominating. They do not want to explain, but they usually want to understand the processes, and they are looking for meanings, and there is no substantial studies on connecting those meanings with the material processes. In fact, material processes are highly neglected. And it is said that, I take this from the website of Society of Ethnomusicology, it is defined as a highly interdisciplinary field, but as you will see, there is no natural sciences in it. Ethnographic fieldwork and historical research are distinguishing methods of ethnomusicology. In fact, the ethnography fieldwork, which differentiates it from historical musicology and other musicological fields. Dualisms in ethnomusicology and Marxism, which I've personally experienced in my studies on ethnomusicology and neuroscience and computational ethnomusicology, and such as looking for differences of taste in music by fMRI, or making automatic transcriptions. And all these processes has cultural serious cultural parts need to be taken into consideration, which has not much done before. So the problem is, in fact, the dualism of social sciences, humanities, and natural sciences, I think, and mainly historical particularism of cultural studies and scientific universalism of natural sciences. Dualisms of Marxism in ethnomusicology can be very roughly summarized as follows. As if cultural studies approach look at use value of music, and the political economy approach looks at exchange values of music. And that is where ethnomusicologists and cultural studies scholars criticize Marx for neglecting use value of commodities. It's very tragic that Marxists in ethnomusicology make great mistakes, which I have give part in my recent publication. They do not understand what productive labor and unproductive labor means, what commodity means. Very fundamental issues are very obscure to the ethnomusicologists studying in this field. But there's a recent trend dealing with political economy and Marx more, but this is done more in the sense of post-humanism or something like that, in the context of new materialism, which are rather hostile to Marxism. Here, this is my main question, main problem, the theoretical model of ethnomusicology. We have 3 levels of analysis: sound, and the concepts emerge around sounds, and the behaviors related with sounds. Each one affect each other, but as you see, we cannot see material processes here, which is a serious lack. Secondly, there is no convincing theoretical model how to connect these levels together. And this model is remodeled by someone else by adding historical construction, social maintenance, like that. And this theory applies to the method, ethnography, in-depth description of a culture or group of people sharing a culture, which means observations and interviews. So we are getting closer to the main problem, which is how to handle these problems while getting towards a Marxist ethnomusicology. I try to follow Vygotsky, as he says, any Marxist science needs its own Das Kapital. I don't want to here discuss how Ilyenkov solved these dualisms, because as I could follow, everybody here is familiar with Ilyenkov enough, more than me, in fact. So I would like to focus on the lack of the theoretical framework between material and the ideal for the study of music and its method. These solutions exist in Marx and Engels and developed by Vygotsky and Ilyenkov, as I think. The problem here is for the ideas about music and ideals of music also. Here comes the famous camera obscura presented in German ideology, which is a very natural process and nothing false here, because the ideas of the people of a specific historical period, of a specific social formation, has the consciousness of their activities. So if we stay with the theories of ethnomusicology, when we interview with people, we will learn the fetishistic perceptions of those people. As Marx and Engels said, we cannot start from what men say, imagine, conceive, or thought, or imagined, etc. And another point is the relations with the ideas of the ruling class. And this is nothing, another expression of the camera obscura. Those are also the results of activities of the capitalist system. So the ideas of the ruling class are nothing than the ideal expression of the dominant material relationships. So when we come to Ilyenkov, in a certain way, in his article Dialectics of the Material and the Ideal, I found many sounds coming from somewhere. I guess, I believe that he saw how the material and ideal processes are related. And based on Marx, Ilyenkov formulates this. In fact, it is something, as I could understand, the ideal and the material, Ilyenkov tries to not to generate a new dualism. So while using different terms, Ilyenkov repeatedly says that the ideal is another kind of material. It should be conceived like that. And Sorry. They are distracting sounds for my presentation. I would like to come to conclusion. The two processes in a spiral shape, with motion of a spiral shape. People sorry. Here is the famous quote from Marx, I guess, in fact, but with the words of Ilyenkov. People get into the process of their material life activity and began to produce not only material but an ideal product. But this process then have arisen, the ideal becomes a critical of the material. Therefore, the process of transforming of the material into ideal followed by the process of materialization of the ideal. I guess I have talked enough to leave discussions. I'll stop here. From this theoretical perspective, I propose to develop a theoretical model for ethnomusicology and its methods, which will show us how to deal with the interviews, how to deal with the thoughts of the people we are studying with. If they are in a fashion like the camera obscura, there should be some methods to make the scientific explanation, as both Ilyenkov and of course Marx proposed. Only in this way a scientific explanation could be made in science as well as in its branches, such as it's a long passage, you know, the relation of value form as an ideal with the material processes. Many thanks for listening. I would be glad for your contributions and glad to try to answer your questions.
Thank you, Alex.
And finally, I would like to share my gratefulness to Siyavesh Azeri. I found chance many times to discuss him with these issues. Of course, the responsibility of this presentation belongs to me.
Thanks.
I will stop sharing, okay?
Hello, Ali. Thanks so much for your presentation. Can you hear me well?
Are you talking from the room?
Yes, I'm over here.
Yes, okay.
I would like to ask you a very simple question. It's a yes or no answer. Are you familiar with the work of Michel Giacometti and Fernando Lopes Graça in Portugal in the 60s? It's an
No, I have never heard them before.
Okay, allow me to make a comment which may end up as a question. Michel Giacometti was a French ethnomusicologist who moved to Portugal in 1959, and he met the composer Fernando Lopes Graça, and they did a very thorough research of the work song in Portugal. There's a musical a sound recording, which is the anthology of traditional Portuguese music, and there is also an audiovisual archive in the shape of a documentary film with narration. They filmed work song, and the narration comments upon the material conditions, for example, the breaking of stone in a quarry, the narration comments upon the material conditions which give shape to the song form. I thought, as Portuguese, this was the standard in ethnomusicology. So I'm quite shocked to learn that your research has found that worldwide, this is not so. Well, it ended up not being a question. I'm sorry, but thank you very much and good luck with your research.
Many thanks. Ethnomusicology has different trends, but my presentation is based on the dominant one, the American made in the United States, and they are more interested in interpretive symbolic anthropology. The problem is not, of course, in anthropology, there are studies on material culture, but the problem is, of course, ethnomusicology has in its history has such trends to deal with the material processes, but the main question still remains how to relate those material processes with the ideal processes in a Marxist fashion. For example, functionalism, structural functionalism, there are many trends in the past, and there are still ethnomusicologists studying within those theoretical approaches, which are very, very old-fashioned. I'm sorry, but the main question still valid. The mode of production and the relation of music with it, and the people how conceptualize those processes. Many thanks for your question.
Hello, Ali. Can you see me?
Hi.
Yeah, we have to hold this rat. In our hands. We've been told. I don't really believe there's a microphone in it, but still. Anyway, just a comment, really. Just how important I think your work is, and I just want to very quickly explain an experience of mine which hit me like a thunderclap. Because I was once immersed in a study of Hegel. I think I was reading the phenomenology of spirit, and I remember putting my book down, and I went into the living room to watch the telly because there was a performance of Beethoven on the proms in the summer, and in Britain, and with about 10 seconds of listening to this symphony, it really struck me that when I was listening to Beethoven, I was just listening to a musical interpretation or a musical expression, should I say, of Hegel. And it really made me think, and I looked up on the internet that they were almost exact contemporaries of each other, born in 17. And so they were young men at the time of the French Revolution. And I think one of them died 10 years after the other. I can't remember which way around it was. But they nevertheless, their life spanned almost exactly the same time period. They both came from the same part of the world. And I suddenly realized that their expressions were the same thing, just expressed in two different ways. And so, in your explorations, in your study, if you ever put a seminar on where we sit down and read Ilyenkov's interpretation of Hegel in the daytime and do some study and some discussion and some work, and then go to a concert and listen to Beethoven at night, please count me in. I'll sign up straight away. Okay, so thank you very much.
Many thanks for your comment and question. In fact, I have written a chapter of a book about listening 19th century music with Marx. So it's very, if I understood you rightly, it's very common to meet famous people in such concerts.
Thank you very much. That's great.
I hope I understood you.
Yes, no, exactly. Thank you.
Hi, Ali.
Hi, Sasha.
question, but also a comment. Of course, ethnomusicology is a rich field to study systematic problems. I think it fascinated me, at least also in the beginning of my.
It doesn't really do anything. Sorry, Ellie.
Can you put the mic closer to?
I can also do it like this, but no, we just have it for fun.
Okay.
Come closer here, maybe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I be short. You spoke about the mainstream ethnomusicology, and I wanted to relate also to Felipe's impression, because also from a German point of view, it's actually quite surprising how ethnomusicology developed. So my question is, if what you're describing is a kind of artifact of professionalization or institutionalization of ethnomusicology, because as a field of study, to emphasize this again, and I think Felipe's impression is really right, from the beginning on, the first people who did it were very aware that they need to do ethnomusicology because of one reason, and that was industrialization on a global level. And they saw that most of the music in the world is related with labor, like work songs, for example. There's a famous end of 19th century book by Karl Bücher, Rhythm and Work, it would be translated. It was totally influential in at least the formation of German ethnomusicology. So you had this kind of collecting and inquiring into global realm of music up until maybe the 30s, 40s, and this was the common approach. So why is it so different now? This would be my question.
I have two answers for that. My main explanation is about the Second World War. For example, especially for ethnomusicology, the first ones were from Berlin. We call it Berlin School. They record, in fact, someone record. They do not make field work mainly. They study on armchair mainly. They analyze those recordings, but they were aware that how the cognition works in different cultures differently. So the flexibility of the cognition in different cultures, they were aware of that. But the main paradigm was evolutionism. In the German Kulturkreis, it was manifested itself as a diffusionism. But the main question were the questions of the positivist social sciences, collect data and find the origin of the music. They did a great job, but and they were many of them were natural scientists. That was great, but they were also victim of the Nazism. So the Berlin School dissolved, and then everything related with those leaders found dangerous, because they were measuring they were applying methods of natural sciences, looking at the sound, measuring pitches, intervals, etc. So not only in ethnomusicology, but also in Marxism and in other social sciences, I believe that there is dissolution of natural scientific approach in social sciences, and one part is about how Nazism used natural sciences, those terrible experiments, but the other side is the dissolution, losing the belief in science progress or etc. So the trends of the hermeneutics, phenomenology, not phenomenology, the interpretive schools started to dominate the intellectual framework gradually. So I believe the critical point is the Second World War. But I would like to add that ethnomusicology has different meanings in different continents. In fact, in Europe, they are organized under International Council for the Study of Traditional Music, and they are coming from more folkloristic tradition. And they still have some Berlin School kind works, or the ones coming after that. So, for example, music scholar studying and teaching traditional Turkish music in Turkey call themselves ethnomusicologists, because traditional Turkish art music is non-Western music, and they think that if we are studying a non-Western music, we are ethnomusicologists. But the method, the theory they apply is the method and theory of the historical musicology, which is mainly focused on Western art music. So the names and their meanings and the trends are so complicated.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. We did have more questions, but unfortunately we are out of time. If you really wanted to ask it, Lars, then let's just, if you can give a very brief response, please. Go on, Lars.
Okay, hi. I was just I'm wondering, what do you think is the main difference between joint musical activity, like playing in an orchestra, and joint activity in general, producing cars or whatever? Which is the main difference?
Would you please repeat your question louder?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Yeah. What is, in your opinion, the main difference between joint musical activity, like playing in an orchestra, and joint activity in general, just producing cars or whatever? Which is the main difference between those two?
They are both collective activities. In what sense you ask? In a chorus, you are with people making music with other people, and in an orchestra, you are making with people. I couldn't understand. I'm very sorry. Forgive my English.
Thank you very much, Ali, for your presentation. Anyway, it was